Most students think that 20 markers are about how much psychology you can remember. They are not. Paper 3 is testing whether you can build an argument. And today I'm going to show you exactly how you can prepare for and write a top band 20-mark essay using a real question and a real examiner's report. So let's have a look at the question, which says, assess the impact of socially sensitive research in psychology for 20 marks. Now, immediately, most students make a fatal mistake. They see socially sensitive and start dumping every study that they can remember from issues and debates. Milgram, Raine, Rosenhan, Bandura, everything. But the examiner report literally says weaker students recalled anything they could remember instead of focusing on the actual question. That is exactly what loses marks. The question uses the command word assess, and this is important because it does not mean describe socially sensitive research. It means you've got to analyze the consequences, explore the implications, consider the positives and negatives, and then reach a balanced judgment. This is why AO3 marks are worth more than AO1. The paper literally gives 8 marks for knowledge and 12 marks for evaluation. And the examiner report repeatedly says the best students wrote imbalanced essays with more AO3 than AO1. So what do top students actually do? Well, according to the examiner report, the best responses, it says, focused directly on implications of the research, explored consequences in depth, showed awareness of stakeholders, developed balanced arguments, and evaluated how far the research was socially sensitive. Notice something important. How far? That's not memorization, that's argument construction. Here's the exact structure that I would use for this question and this essay. Firstly, as an introduction, define socially sensitive research and then explain why it matters. Then in paragraph 1, explain why socially sensitive research can benefit society. Then in paragraph 2, give evidence and implications. Then in paragraph 3, say that socially sensitive research can also harm society. And in paragraph 4, give evidence and implications. The last paragraph needs to be a final judgment, which is an overall assessment of the impact, because that's what the question is, assess. This structure works because it naturally creates balance. And balance is exactly what level 5 requires. So your introduction could sound like this. Socially sensitive research refers to psychological research that may have significant social consequences for the groups represented or for society more broadly. Such research can influence legal systems, healthcare, public attitudes and policy, although it may lead to discrimination, labeling and misuse of findings. That's concise, it's focused, and it's directly answering the question. No waffle. Now let's build AO3 properly. For example, Milgram's obedience research could be used positively because it increased understanding of blind obedience and how ordinary individuals may commit harmful acts under authority pressure. This has important social implications because institutions can reduce destructive obedience by limiting unquestioned authority structures. That is good AO3 because you're not just describing Milgram, you are discussing impact. Now let's deepen the argument. Raine et al. Found differences in brain activity between murderers and non-murderers, particularly reduced activity in the prefrontal cortex. This could positively contribute to understanding of violent behavior and potentially improve rehabilitation steps. However, socially sensitive biological explanations may also create problems because offenders can argue diminished responsibility due to brain abnormalities. The examiner report loves this kind of thinking because you are exploring competing implications. If you look at examiner reports from 2017 onwards, so specifically 2022 and 2025, it says that weaker students wrote huge amounts of AO1, retold studies, gave generic evaluation, ignored the command word, failed to focus on progression or implications. And this is the biggest paper 3 lesson, is that more writing doesn't equal more marks. Focused AO3 gets marks. So how should you revise for these essays? It's not by memorizing the entire textbook. Instead, try this. Step 1, learn concise definitions for each debate. So whether that's ethics, socially sensitive research, nature versus nurture, learn those definitions and then prepare flexible evidence. So for socially sensitive research, you can use Milgram, Raine et al., Rosenhan, Bandura. These studies can flex across multiple debates. Then the next step is to practice the implications. Ask yourself, why does this research matter to society? So who benefits? Who can be harmed? Could the findings be misused? Could they improve society? And that is where level 5 essays are built. Here's what elite students do differently. They evaluate significance. So it's not just the strengths and the weaknesses. For example, research into jury bias, such as Bradbury and Williams, has important social implications because it reveals potential discrimination within the justice system. This may improve fairness by encouraging reform of jury procedures. However, public awareness of systemic bias could also reduce confidence in the legal system itself. That is sophisticated AO3 because it explores both consequences. The 2025 examiner report warning is very important. It says that students often recounted a large volume of what they had learned with little focus on how psychology had developed over time. So that applies to all 20 markers. Students panic and then brain dump the knowledge that they have. But paper 3 rewards selective evidence that is tightly linked to the question. So you have to answer the question, not just show how much you can remember around the topic. So to reach level 5, your essay needs accurate psychology, logical chains of reasoning, balanced arguments, awareness of implications, explicit judgment, and sustained AO3 throughout. Notice that. AO3 throughout. Not one evaluation paragraph slapped on at the end. And honestly, once you understand this, paper 3 becomes a lot more predictable. The topic changes. So in the past 8 years, there's been social control, free will, ethics, socially sensitive research, reductionism, but the examiner's skills stay exactly the same. And those require a balanced judgment, implications from both sides of an argument, and sustained AO3 throughout your essay, linked to the question. And that is what Edexcel rewards every single year. So if you want more essay breakdowns, then comment below. Also, if you would like to see a model answer for this question or any 20-mark question, the link is in the description. Literally just sign up, it's free. And good luck with paper 3.